Welcome to Paula Blair from the University of Glasgow. We're delighted Paula's come along to chat to us. And Paula's going to talk a little bit about UCAS applying for university, particularly from a Glasgow Uni perspective, and give you some advice on how to go about that and how to approach that. So welcome, Paula. Nice to have you along. If I can ask you maybe first of all about SWAP students applying for the University of Glasgow, some of our students might be wondering, whether Glasgow University is a university that would take SWAP students. We do make clear to them that it's one of our progression routes. How do Glasgow feel about taking applicants from SWAP?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is that we would strongly encourage applicants to think about the University of Glasgow. We have had a strong partnership with SWAP for years now, and SWAP applicants are viewed very, very positively for us as a university. We can kind of look and see that you're bringing something else with you in your studies. So you're bringing possibly some life experience that other students might not have, or you could be bringing a whole different variety of skill sets. So that's something that we are, really in favour of, and we would really encourage. We are huge believers in the SWAP programme, and we are often recommending it ourselves as a progression route when we are speaking to potential applicants to the university, because we just think they're fantastic courses. So it's something I would say is really, really important. We would very much welcome SWAP applicants to the University of Glasgow, and we've got a really good track record of then kind of working with SWAP applicants once they're Glasgow students with us at the university.
That's brilliant. I know there's so much support for students, once they arrive as well. So I've always found Glasgow University, I did a SWAP course myself and went on to study at University of Glasgow, and the amount of support that was there, I just felt really welcome. So there's lots of things for students to engage with at the University of Glasgow once they arrive, lots of services to support them.
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a whole range of support services available. So all the way through from things like our financial aid team that can help out with the financial side of things. It can be a bit tricky maybe when you're navigating changing circumstances when you're coming to university. We've got things like our disability service where you can actually register before you start in the September time to make sure all your support and provision is in place for you. We've also got broader services like it's called our Learning Enhancement and Academic Development Service, not a very catchy title, but we refer to them as LEADS, and they provide all sorts of support. So from things like essay writing through to maybe specific maths support if you're coming in to do a degree that's got a big math sort of component to it. And you can go to them, you can book one-to-one appointments with advisors and get specific study skill support, help for things like presentations and things like that. So these are all support services that we would say are really, really useful for students to engage with. We've also got our careers service as well at the university, and we would really recommend students start working with the careers service from first year. It doesn't have to be something you wait until you're getting ready to graduate and finish your degree. You can start working in first year to make sure that you're really updating your CV and cover letters and application forms to really reflect all the different experience that you're gaining as you go. That's our more kind of formal support, but we've also got a lot of things like student societies that you can join. We've got our Mature Students Association that a lot of students find really useful to be a part of. So that's adult returners that are coming back to study. So you might find you meet people that are maybe encountering similar situations to yourself. So you could maybe be balancing caring responsibilities with maybe part-time work and study. And sometimes it can be really useful just to have someone to have a chat with that's going through similar things. So we've got lots of kind of informal groups like that as well, which are great.
It's brilliant. It's such a diverse community at Glasgow, and I think it's good for our students to hear that from you, that all of that support's available and that there's such a wide range of different kinds of students actually who go to Glasgow University. So that's fantastic. In addition to the students that go to Glasgow University, you guys are also a great UCAS option for our students to think about. Many of our students will be looking at their UCAS applications just now. So what kind of things does Glasgow University offer? What sort of progression routes that are there for our students?
Yeah, so we offer a number of different progression routes depending obviously on what SWAP programme you're on. So within Glasgow, we work on what's called a college structure. So it can be a wee bit different from some other universities in that we've got what we call our College of Arts, where you've maybe got degrees like English literature, you've maybe got history, philosophy, things like that. We've got our College of Social Sciences, which you might expect things like economics, business, politics to be there. We've got our College of Science and Engineering, so your engineering degrees come in there, but so do things like chemistry, maths, computing science. And we've got our College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences. So that's where a lot of your biology kind of based degrees would come in. So that might be things like genetics, anatomy, immunology. So we've got a whole kind of wide ranging area for progression routes really. We've also got our professional degrees that some of you might be looking at, so things like medicine and things like that. And we've got primary teaching as well for those of you that are on the primary education course. So one thing that's a wee bit different in Glasgow is we've got for a lot of our degrees what's called a flexible degree structure. So essentially what that means is for our College of Arts, Social Sciences, for a lot of our science degrees, you're brought into the college itself. So the entry requirements would be the exact same for kind of all the subjects within that. So if we take the College of Arts, for example, say you're thinking, well, I'm really interested in English literature, but actually I'm really interested in history as well, and philosophy would maybe be an option for me too. So instead of having to use 3 separate UCAS choices for those 3 courses, you can just apply to one of those courses and you can then pick up those subjects within your first and second year at the university. So we do have some videos and things on our flexible degree structure that I'm happy to pass over that you can then read through in a bit more detail. But essentially it means you're not having to use a number of different UCAS choices, because what would happen is you'll get the exact same offer for all of those courses anyway. So we wouldn't want you coming in and say picking 5 courses in the College of Arts with us, because you're just going to get given the exact same offer. And we would want to make sure that you've got a kind of broad range of offers to make sure that you are getting a place in university at the end of your swap course.
So that's really good advice, Paula. So for students who are maybe on, say, something like access to humanities or social sciences, and often there's a bit of kind of crossover between those two subjects, students could consider an application to the College or School of Arts, and they could also look at applying to the School of Social Sciences. But what we wouldn't really want to see is, 3 applications for arts subjects and 3 applications for social sciences. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, yep, that's exactly it, Paula. The one thing we would say is if you've got a very specific subject in mind, so quite often this can be for psychology. Psychology is a really popular degree at Glasgow, and it can be studied across a number of different colleges. We would advise if you've got something you really, really want to do, you would put that down as your UCAS choice. And one of the reasons for that is that you then are ensuring that you can study those modules in your first year. So the really busy courses, it then means if you're planning on doing that as a degree pathway, you get to pick up that subject. But amongst other courses, you can kind of pick and choose modules across first and second year, and it means you don't need to specialise until your third year with us.
That's fantastic. Lots of options there for our students to think about, and really good advice for them as well. So it's interesting that our students are now looking at their UCAS application. It's always at this early bit of the year that we start thinking ahead to where we want to go. But a lot of the swap year is really thinking ahead and preparing for making that transition or that move on to, some of our students might be going on to HNC study, but for people who are applying through UCAS, we're looking at degree study. Do you have any advice for students in terms of preparing them across this access year for being ready for studying with you guys at the University of Glasgow?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things to do is do your research. So I think it's really, really important that as a student, you're looking at what courses are actually available in what universities and which one are you most interested in. So one thing I would say is don't rule out an institution. Have a real look at them all and weigh up, okay, who's offering what degree, what do I actually want to do, and what is of most interest to me. I think one of the ways that you can do that as well is through your Prep for HE module. It's really, really important in helping with your transitions. Also, one thing we would say is speak to your college tutors and really take on board their advice. They have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in this area. So listen to them, speak to them, see what their thoughts are. And that particularly goes for things like UCAS personal statements. Don't leave things to the last minute. Be prepared to draft and redraft based on your tutor feedback. So one thing we'd always advise is don't leave that to the last minute, because you want to give your tutors plenty of time to actually be able to read through your personal statement and give you genuine feedback on it. So that's something that's really important. So do your research, be as organised as you can. And if possible, obviously a lot of the campuses, the open days aren't running in person at the moment, but a lot of places are running online open days where you can go on and speak to academic staff, find out about areas. A lot of universities will have virtual tours on their website as well, so you could go on and have a wee look there. So you're still getting a bit of a feel of looking about the campuses too.
Well, that's brilliant, and we'll be hoping to get events lined up. Those tend to kind of happen after Christmas, but we always have those dedicated events, which you guys have been brilliant at supporting, and we'll look forward to getting our students along to see you. That was interesting that you picked up on the Prep for HE within your advice there for students. Obviously, as part of our Prep for HE, students just now are working on their UCAS, but after Christmas they'll maybe be looking at things like academic reading, critical thinking, how to do a bit of academic writing. So are these skills important for students as they move forward? Is this something you would encourage them to engage with?
Absolutely. I think these are where the real transitions often come in between maybe college level study and university level study. That ability to be able to really critically evaluate sources, to be able to write at that academic level. We actually offered out this year to all SWAP applicants who had an offer at the University of Glasgow our own academic skills module, which ran in August time, and we gave students an option to come on and have a look at that, and that covered these things too, but a wee bit more specific to Glasgow. So all those things, critical thinking, how you deconstruct questions, how you read sources appropriately, how you tackle a reading list, all these really, really important things, because quite often they're the things students feel quite nervous about in the first semester. So if you're able to work through those in your prep for HE, you start to realise, okay, here's maybe where I need to do a wee bit more work on. I'm quite confident in my academic writing, but actually critically analysing an argument, I'm still finding that quite tricky. So we would really, really encourage students to engage with that and work through that content.
That's brilliant. And the summer school was so warmly received as well by our students who went on that last year. That was a great event for them. And again, just highlights and showcases the amazing support that we have that's set up, between SWAP and the University of Glasgow. And it's been a great partnership over the years. And many of our students have been really happy and delighted to go on and complete their degree study. So thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us today, Paula. That was really useful and lots of information for our students to think about. And we'll look forward to seeing you at a SWAP event soon.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Paula. Thanks.